Hello and welcome to Connect. I'm your host, Randy Shavilo. On today's show, we'll have Jason Yochim with the Saskatchewan Realtors Association, as well as Adele Bittner with Agriviz Communications. And as always, we'd like to connect with you.
Tweet us at connect_YXE, follow us on Facebook to watch new and past interviews, or email us at connectyxe@gmail.com.
The Saskatchewan Realtors Association CEO Jason Yochim joins us today and offers some insight into what's been happening with regards to residential home prices, which may offer a glimmer of hope that might be different than what we've been hearing in the general media. Jason, thank you for making some time today.
Thanks, Randy, for the opportunity to speak today.
I want to ask you a little bit about the Saskatchewan Realtors Association because there has been a little bit of a change, provincially speaking. Tell us a little bit about that.
Certainly. So going back about 20 years ago, we used to have 10 realtor associations in this province, and one of them being the provincial body, which was at that time the Association of Saskatchewan Realtors. And then we had local associations in the major centers in the province. Over time, some of those dissolved and joined the larger ones, leaving us with a couple of years ago, Saskatoon, Regina, and the provincial body. And our membership voted early last year to amalgamate those three remaining associations into one to provide more centralized services for the members and also a better experience for the consumer, because we can provide better economies of scale, better support for our members, and so on in the real estate industry.
So these are realtors in our communities across the province that belong to your organization then?
That is correct. So in the province, anybody that trades in real estate has to have a license, and they're called a registrant with the province. But when they become a member of our association, they become what's called a realtor. And a realtor ascribes to a higher level of ethics and professional standards, and we provide them with a lot of services like the MLS database, electronic key boxes, and things to do their business well.
And I suppose safety is an overarching theme. I know we've heard a little bit about that in the past little while. If we talk about prices, generally speaking, do you have a gauge over some of the maybe rural villages and towns versus some of the major cities that you can offer a glimpse in?
Yeah, so I think across the province, generally speaking, our median price for the first and second quarter of the year didn't go down much more than 3%. So we're quite happy to see that. We were a little concerned when COVID first became a big issue in mid-March that the economy would really have an impact on real estate and that we would see a decline in both sales and prices. But we had a fairly quick recovery, and that's measured out well as far as the median price.
And in terms of, I guess, market availability, if I was to look at Saskatoon as an example, are you seeing some stability or some increases or decreases? What's happening here?
It'd be different to say for in Saskatoon, for example, different markets would have a different rate of changes in their pricing depending on the demand for those markets or those neighborhoods. But overall prices are pretty well holding stable or a little bit higher than they would have been a year ago. We've got a fairly low inventory right now and a lot of demand post-COVID, plus add the spring market to that. So it helps to keep those prices up.
And I guess that builds stability in terms of anyone who owns a home, but for someone who's also shopping, there's no, dramatic increase. Is there some, because of that demand, does that put pressure on some of the people who are looking to buy? And what does that do with their lending capabilities, and do they have access to funds?
Yeah, so there's a couple different issues there that you brought up. It is a bit challenging for buyers right now because our inventory levels are lower than they've been in a number of years. We did see an increase in June to the number of new listings compared to last June, so that's a positive sign to help those buyers. But there was also some changes with qualifying with Canada Mortgage and Housing that make it a little bit more challenging for some of those consumers that are out there trying to find financing to be able to make that move. Also, with challenges from COVID and people being laid off from their jobs and so on, it's probably put a few buyers out of the market temporarily.
Does that help, I guess, in the term of multi-unit housing, if there's duplexes and maybe fourplexes and so on. Is there some uptake in that? Because if people are looking to move and relocate for job opportunities, we like to think that we're doing reasonably well here. Does that offer some glimmer of hope for people that might be holding rental properties in the rental market?
Yeah, so in the rental market, I know some of the challenges again through COVID were tenants that maybe couldn't afford to pay their rent because they were laid off temporarily with COVID. We did some lobbying with our association to help our not only our members who own property, but other landlords and that to be able to navigate through this and be able to collect the rent that they're needing to be able to pay their expenses. Certainly for a first-time home buyer or any home buyer for that matter, having opportunity to buy a duplex or fourplex and live in part of the unit and rent the rest out is going to help them with their qualifying for financing to get into a property.
What happens when, I guess we've seen some movement away from the office environment to home offices, and now that people are, Zooming and Microsoft type functions, that they would not need to go to the office. Are you seeing some efforts put into home improvements with product that is on the market or coming on the market that we used to call them dens? Are they now offices and things like that? Is that a change that you're seeing now?
Yeah, so in the commercial market right now, our members are telling us two stories. They're telling us that some of their clients are looking at expanding their footprint for office space so they can social distance within the office environment, while others might be clawing back the amount of space that they need for their office because more people are working from home. And we understand in the renovation side of the industry, a lot more people are spending money on their home because they're spending more time in that home, whether it's for their own recreational purposes or to enhance the office or the home office that they're now working from.
Is that something that I guess we can look at opportunities to move into smaller centers if that becomes a permanent trend, that I don't need to physically be in the office and I can do what I'm doing. And for those that can, I guess they will.
Yes.
If there's an opportunity to move to a bedroom community, I would imagine that there'd be some pressure to develop and sell property out there.
Oh, certainly. So again, when it becomes a little more challenging for people to qualify for financing to buy that home, then they're going to look at alternatives. Either they're going to go into a multifamily within a larger center, or they may move out to one of the bedroom communities, and that's certainly a strong consideration.
What do we see just in terms of, we keep talking about, the wave of urbanism that's out there with a new demographic of youth that are, and I say youth in the sense of the under 35 population. Do we see some pressure to want to be near urban centers or in downtowns across the province?
I think that's a very real trend. I know I've got children in that age group, and one of my sons, he loves being in your neighborhood in Riversdale. Has access to everything within walking distance, and to him, it's a very attractive neighborhood to be living in.
I suppose the opportunity also comes with the amenities like the announcement of a downtown library and potentially arena and convention center. Would we see more development? Just a blue sky guess, I guess. If would we see something with more upbuilding in terms of condo development, townhouse type construction that would be closer to downtown because of things like that?
Oh, for sure. I think there's currently some developments that are well underway within the radius of downtown that are serving that need. Probably one of the things that's really important, and I know we've seen it tried and not be successful so far, is shopping or grocery shopping within walking distance of some of these condominium projects. And maybe as we see more of them being completed, we'll see a greater demand that can support a grocery store downtown or in those areas.
There was always a comical, uh, I guess you would say, look back when people first started to settle here in the late 1800s, that there was no grocery store, but they brought the commerce with them, and I think that's important to reflect on. What uh, what would you see in the next? This is July. What would you see in the next 6 months, just as some crystal ball type gazing from your desk? What are you experiencing there?
Sure. So I like to be an optimist, and I'm hoping that we continue to see some strong trends in real estate. Also, being a realist, I'm waiting to see what happens as we move through this next 6 months with the economy and people starting to get back to work, businesses starting to try and return to normal. We'll see some funding decrease from the government likely in time. Also, there's been people that have had to waive mortgage payments, then that'll be coming to an end. So I'm hoping we can weather that storm. Typically, as a province, we've done very well through some of the economic challenges with resource prices. And I hope that same trend continues through this post-COVID period. And I certainly hope there isn't a second wave, because that would not be a good thing for our economy.
I've heard it said just in passing that, I don't need a grant, I need a job. And I think that's the most important driver to get things back to normal, is have people in jobs, earning incomes and spending their money within their communities that they live. Jason, if people just had a general question about your association, how would they reach out to you and get a hold of you?
Sure. Before I answer that, Randy, you made a comment just a second ago. Our industry, for every transaction that we have in real estate in this province, it generates additional economic spending of almost $54,000. And those are a lot of those jobs you just spoke of. Those are renovations and roofs being done and landscaping being done and furniture being bought and appliances being bought. So we feel our industry is very important to the turnaround of this economy right now. And the more transactions we can see, the more money that's going to circulate through the economy. So we're very optimistic about that part of it. So to answer your question, to reach out to me, 306-244-4453 or info@sra.ca.
Jason from the Saskatchewan Saskatchewan Realtors Association, thank you for making our program today, and I wish you continued success with what you're doing there.
Well, thank you, Randy. Happy to be here, and continued success for you as well.
Thank you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.